Hey, what's up? This is Jake. You're in Jake's shop. Decided it's time to do some wipers on this Camaro. Today we're going to go over these wiper systems. Check it out. Alright, so on this car, again, this car is a 1968 Camaro. Now this Camaro is an LS1 swap Camaro. For those of you who haven't been following me on YouTube, if this is a fun video to watch at all, you want to see updates on the Camaro, hit like and subscribe. What I'm doing here is a rain gear system. Now this system's actually a really nice system. This is their delay system. I really like Rain Gear as a company. They're local, they're actually out of Oregon. And obviously being in the Pacific Northwest, they're going to be pretty familiar with having good wiper systems. I really like this one. How it's packaged is amazing. It's got really good color directions. I've seen a couple other things online about this system. Everything came out beautifully. It's actually got stainless components in here as well as coatings over the main gear itself, and everything else has been powder coated. The other really cool thing about this system is that it's completely concealed. We'll take a look at the car and I'll show you how that benefits us on this particular project. Okay, so looking at the car, one thing with LS1 swaps, a lot of times the LS ends up getting pushed back against the firewall depending on which engine mounts you end up using. Now you can fit a wiper, that's where the existing stock wiper motor and whatnot went. The problem with that is to get a nice big brake booster in there, everything's pretty tight. On this particular setup, it may be able to squeeze one in there, but I like cleaning that up actually. That kit comes with a blink off plate, and all of the gear itself will sit down in here in front of the airbox, all of the brackets and everything. So in the kit what you've got is the motor itself, you've got the gear itself for the steering, I'm thinking about steering. For the wiper systems itself, I've got my delay switch, all the wiring and harnesses. I've got all the powder coated, everything you can see is powder coated here. I've got the stainless bolts that are going to go into the stock locations for the wiper system itself. So overall, yeah, really good directions. Everything's really well called out. Now the systems are actually, this system they're actually specific, right, for the car. I got this from Summit. You can get them from a bunch of different places, but this is I'm gonna have to read it, RAIRG68-68D, Rain Gear Wiper Systems. This kit, as you can see, is for a 68, and it appears that depending on what you go with, I don't think this two-speed standard switch is even an option. This is a two-speed switch and delay. So it's going to be way better than stock, of course. I've actually heard these run, and they are much quieter than a standard setup. A lot less moving components, you know. By the time I'd rebuilt the stock setup, even if I could fit the wiper motor there on the firewall, it would be, you know, noisy. I'd have to deal with new bushings on all the linkage components. Just a mess. This will fit right into my firewall, and I can use my Camaro bezels. So this knob will be gone, obviously. I'm going to use the stock knob. I can take that off and replace it. But nice delay switch there. All the wiring is in here. There's a wiring harness, obviously. They even gave you some different connectors and whatnot. This is more bracketry, and there's a blank off plate in here as well as all of the nuts and bolts that are needed for this kit. So really looking forward to putting this in. We'll kind of take a look at a little bit of it. I'm not going to go into a ton of detail, but maybe I'll hook it up to a battery and I'll run it, and then I'll show you exactly what this is looking like. All right, first step in the process is to drill a hole in your firewall, and from the driver's side wiper, you need to come over not more than 6 inches, somewhere between 4 and 5 inches, and drill a 5/8 hole. A little trickier said than done, but I've got an extension on my drill. I pre-drilled with smaller drill bits and then used my unibit step bit for it. It's a lot easier that way. So grommet went in great. It was a nice little grommet they provided in the kit. It's up high up there where it needs to be, ready for some wires to go through. On to the next step. Okay, the next part of the action is to put in the actual drive assembly. This is just to roughly get it into your airbox. Now, they talk about putting it into this first airbox on the driver's side. I actually went through the second box and made it easier for me. Obviously, I didn't go through any of the disassembly of any of this stuff, but basically it's set in there. And what I did, I went through this one, shoved it down out of the way, turned it, and came back. It's kind of tight, it's kind of wiggly, but they give you some good pictures on how to fold this thing up and how to note which end is which. One thing I would recommend doing before you set this in the airbox is take out the 2 screws that secure the drive assembly into place up on the valence ahead of time. So I'm going to take those out next and get this thing mounted. Bolted into place, nice stainless steel Allen's holding that in there, secured in real tight. good to go. According to the directions, I gotta mount this bracket, two bolts that hold it in here, by sliding into this portion of the airbox and then mounting it to the drive assembly. You're gonna see this little bracket coming off the back side. And they give you, you know, there's a lot of really good stainless steel hardware that they give you in this package, in here. So you're gonna use those bolts and nuts and washers, and the directions will explain more clearly. You're gonna bolt that in next. Okay, so that bracket is now in place. They actually call it the bridge in the directions there. It's really hard to see what's going on here, but it went right in. Now, these are 2 1/4x28 bolts that hold this into place, stainless steel bolts. They didn't really want to go into the drive assembly where they made up to it very well, because probably the powder coating was a little thick or something. So I ran a chase in and they went right in. The other thing is I forgot to mention before, as I'm putting all of these together, I'm using some Loctite on all of these brackets, because there's a lot of movement in this range, you know, with this whole mechanism here, and I just don't want those ever backing out without intentionally trying to take them out. But I just put them in loose on this side first, and then I pulled the bracket up into position and then bolted this one in. So now that is completely, the bridge they call it, is completely in place. Okay, next we've got the bridge in place, obviously, so we're going to connect the 2 bolts that are on the blower side of the brace to the motor assembly itself. They're going to go here and here. Now, one thing, like I had noted earlier, I'm putting Loctite on everything. Maybe. Anyways, but you know, powder coating does take its toll when you get these parts, and obviously that fits. That doesn't fit. So just a little bit of powder coating. You know, I'm just going to run a quick drill bit to clean it up just so I get that bolt through, but always good to check so you're not fussing with the car. The other nice thing about this situation is I don't have the hood on the car. Everything's out of the way. It makes it really easy for this application, because I could imagine trying to put this in with the hood on. You could do it, but you got to be a little bit of a acrobat to make that work. Okay, this is going to be pretty hard to show, but I'll do my best. So I've got that motor in place. Again, making sure to go ahead and run a thread chase down. That powder coating's a little thick around the holes, and it makes the bolts go in a lot more smooth. So really, after that's bolted in, the fun part was there's a wiring harness, obviously, where I drilled the hole initially. I wrapped mine in black tape and tucked it nice and tight under the brace here. Only thing really left to do is attach the pivot arm, which I've started to do. The directions are pretty clear, but you put the screwdriver in, and there's the keyway on the bottom here that keeps it, and it locks in the other plate. And you'll see it in the directions a lot clearer. So it's pretty trick, and it works out well. It keeps it in the right position while you're bolting the pivot arm into place that's on the motor. I'll try to get a better shot here looking at the front of this thing. So that's where the new blank off motor plate's going to go, and you can see the drive motor inside there, and you can see the pivot arm on the top and the nut. So that screwdriver is locking that pivot arm into the correct position while you tighten that nut down. So it's a little tricky. If this was welded shut already, you could probably do it through the airbox, so the directions also note that, but it'd be a lot more difficult. So one thing, you know, it's kind of tight inside there. You got to fiddle with things with your hands. So that's kind of what she looks like, mostly in place. We'll get her wrapped up. I'll throw some 12 volts at it, and you'll see this thing actually work after I tidy it up. Everything's really good. I got that brace in there, wedged in there just right. There's a motor brace. Get some little rubber snubbers with you. I'll put the cover on here afterwards and just kind of trim it out. But overall, I'm pretty impressed with the install. You know, some guys know too much and some know too little, and I know too much for what I do, but I got it temporarily wired in. Clamps are really convenient. Got her grounded. We're good. What I am super impressed with is the sound. I don't know if you're going to be able to hear this or not, but here's delay. Look at that. It's so quiet. Here's regular. Here's high. That's like pro status right there, bros. Yeah, super happy with it. Everything's lining up great. So yeah, quick little install. Again, that's a rain gear system. My 68 little test, since I don't have any other wiring in the car. I'm really happy with it. Everything turned out really well. It wasn't too bad to install, and it's going to be a really slick setup. So, hey, if you like this video at all, hit like and subscribe. We'll see you on the next one.